Hey everybody, it's Jay and Nick. We are just back from New Jersey Motorsports Park, and of course, I don't need to tell you, they love us back east.
Boom, there you go, bam, ho!
Yeah, for this race, we were not on our usual Thunderbolt layout there at NJMP, but back on Lightning, which is actually where we got our start at that track.
Yeah, now next year we'll be back on Thunderbolt. We also had HooptieCon this year.
The full title of this event, of course, was the Real Hoopties of New Jersey at HooptieCon, presented by Yokohama, but we're just calling it HooptieCon East for obvious reasons. Now, as you know, HooptieCon is a lemons race plus a bunch of other car shows happening at the same time. We had Concord Lemons, Billetproof, Lemons Rally, and of course, Radwood.
Yeah, so Radwood included a totally bizarre Citroën,
Hella sweet.
a Koenig Mercedes,
Hella sweet.
a Volvo 480 Euro Turbo,
Hella sweet.
and the Porsche Club of America. And Radwood was finally able to execute the Pepsi Challenge, you know, from the 80s. There was Pepsi Challenge. They tried to do that at Sonoma. Apparently Sonoma is a Coca-Cola track, so they couldn't actually bring in a 2-liter bottle of Pepsi. They were able to do that in New Jersey because New Jersey, you can do anything you want.
And as they always do, Radwood gave Lemons the honor of awarding a Lemons Choice Trophy for the
because
Radwood
we're
show.
experts.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
And to cement that point, we selected a Subaru Justy 4-wheel drive CVT transmission, probably the only one still running anywhere in the world.
Now, there was one spectacular rollover at this race. It was already posted on the internet, so I'm sure you've already seen it, but everybody has a lot of theories because internet. Clearly, the tires had heat cycled at least 10 times too many, and he just was totally lacking in grip.
The Vanos crossover of the BMW M50 caught him by surprise.
There was a change in the crosswind that totally caught the BMW driver off guard.
I think none of them had the line.
The Audi was definitely on the line.
He had the line. Now, this was called in by the corners as a rollover by car 999. Jeff, our race controller, looked at his sheet. There is no car 999, and he says, corner 7, is it possible that because the car is upside down that it's actually number 666? And the corner worker said, oh my God, it is! I can't believe it! It's like a whole new world under here.
The guy just rolled it on top of me, holy holy
Okay, but all kidding aside, I mean, this is a classic situation. Guy puts his nose where it absolutely does not belong, but that happens, and you gotta be able to survive that. This is why we are such sticklers for safety and for tech inspection. Everybody walked away from this wreck. You don't get that unless you pay attention to your safety equipment.
Now, what New Jersey racers lack in driving ability, they make up for by their ability to have a good time. Now, this was yet another example of our newfound official Saturday night party that we've been trying to promote at all of our events. Zero Energy Racing hosted this, and I gotta say, I called them Zero Budget, like in all of the email announcements.
You know what?
It's all
What
kind of
difference
the
does
same.
it make? Yeah.
Well, I will point out, so the reason they're called Zero Energy, their car is themed up like a Zero fighter plane, which is made by Mitsubishi.
Not Honda.
These guys are no dummies, so they're actually running a Lemons race in the Honda because they want to finish. Anyway, they supplied the party with 115 pounds of pork butt, and it was just awesome.
Yeah, and after eating a hell of a lot of butt, Rally Baby hired a DJ. There was a big disco party.
Barf Motorsports were back with their Ford Focus themed up in the Hunt for Red October theme, and of course, their bribe was the finest Russian vodka, which was made in Kentucky.
But terrible Sputnik Racing brought a Nissan Access. Now, the Access was the follow-up to the incredibly unsuccessful Nissan Stanza wagon.
Yeah.
That car was unsuccessful both in the market and in Sputnik's attempting to use it as a Lemons car. The Access is totally following form. It showed up immediately. The entire field, as far as you could see, was littered with Russians and broken Nissan Stanza parts, and now broken Nissan Access parts. The thing blew up. They tried to turbo it. That didn't work. They tried to swap a new motor in. That didn't work. It was a classic Sputnik performance.
Hella sweet, the Lemontarians were back with their Cadillac, and they had converted it into a Hearst Tribute.
Unfortunately, in their tribute, the role of Linda Vaughn was played by a Lemons dude.
The Lementarians are also, of course, known for their exceedingly sketchy pit vehicles. This one tied into the hearse theme. It was some kind of hoopty-ass contraption operated by a comically oversized hearse shifter. It was hella sweet.
Hella sweet flame car racing brought this dude's 2002 street car. So,
Yeah.
guy has a really nicely restored, kind of gorgeous collectible BMW 2002.
It's the ultimate driving machine.
Yeah, so totally true. One day he's driving along and he parks and it craps out and he can't get started again. About which Nick knows nothing, I'm sure.
Nope.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
So what does he do? He tries to bridge the starter solenoid with a screwdriver and burns the car to the ground.
Yeah.
Actually, the rear, I think it was the passenger's quarter, still looked pretty good. Rest of the car totally toasted, so they made it into a Lemons car.
Now, Punisher GP brought back their Peugeot 405 MI16, which is hella sweet.
Yeah, the MI16 is the important part of that, too. This was kind of Peugeot's very last gasp, and they thought they're looking around, they're saying, well, there's SER Nissans, and there's these hot-ass Hondas. They were winning Indy with the twin-cam, 4-valve engines, I don't know, in 1915. If you are over 5'7", you cannot fit in a Peugeot 405. You just can't. They eat a lot of pastries, and they drink a lot of wine. They're all stunted. They don't have a fat layer, and then a dough layer, and then a fat layer. That's what when you get crispiness. If you don't have that flakiness, you just do not have pastry. Why the stripy shirts? I don't get that. Beret, fine, whatever, it's a hat. But the shirts, I don't understand. Why is nobody buying our cars? It was like a Japanese subcompact without the Japanese quality. Oh, this is a fabulous car. You could drive like that. So it's pretty good.
Everyone on the internet swore that this Peugeot was going to dominate the race, and it did dominate. And by that I mean it finished 5th in Class C.
And I have a few more things about Peugeots. Call me.
Now, hella sweet, this never gets old. The Dead Horse Beaters Ford Mustang. Now, speaking of beating a dead horse, you guys have seen this car
Ironic
before.
that never gets old, really.
It just really doesn't. So this is a 60s Mustang. They've chopped it all up. It's got a mid-mounted Honda V6 engine. It is, why you ruin classic? I thought that this was a race for $500 car. It makes people freak out, and we just think it's awesome. Hey, now that I think about it, a Mustang with a mid-mounted Honda V6 is really like an NSX. Didn't you used to have an NSX?
I did. Same results. Hella sweet, silent, but deadly racing. They brought their Thunderbird. And for this Thunderbird, they chopped the roof and the back glass off of a parts Thunderbird. And they made it into a shooting brake Thunderbird. But not just a shooting brake Thunderbird. They made it into a shooting brake surf wagon Thunderbird. All of that was absolutely spectacular, except for the part where they actually lost Class B late in the race because one of the surfboards fell off their shooting brake Thunderbird. Hella sweet was Lemon's Appliance Repair. Now, they showed up with a Chevrolet HHR.
Well, I believe that the PT Cruiser is sort of a corny affectation for people who are trying to relive a time that never existed.
Done up in this appliance repair panel van theme, and we all thought, that's really funny, man. Y'all look like a bunch of appliance repair men. Y'all, that's hilarious. Well, they're all appliance repair men.
And they stole the truck from their work. The Guy Fieri Miata was back again for another Lemons race with another trip to Flavor Town. These guys have doubled down on the theme with a super mediocre buffet during BS inspection, and their driving has been a little questionable, and Steve has described a couple of the dudes on their team as feral adults, but they've solved all of those problems for this race by bolting in a Ford small block V8.
Their thinking was, well, that turns it into a Shelby Cobra, but in fact it was a one-way ticket to Failure Town.
The Garage Heroes team, I recently had the pleasure of speaking to them on their own podcast. If you want to check it out, it's the Garage Heroes in Training podcast. They got the Bob Ross penalty, which is a long-time penalty where you have to paint a beautiful landscape on the side of your car. Now, the Garage Heroes team has a couple of actually legit artists on their team, and they took their time with this, and it was easily the best Bob Ross completed painting we've ever seen on the side of a Lemons car.
Heroic Fix went to LOL-NSA. They got accordioned in a horrible mix-up, and their car was all smashed front and rear, and normally they would be done, but no, they got a couple of pickup trucks and some chains. They stretched it back out so well that the Adidas stripes on top of the thing lined right back up, got on the track. Took them like 60 minutes.
I Got Screwed went to the British Empire Strikes Back and their initially Triumph TR8. Now these guys are the originators of the Triumph TR8 challenge. They noticed that there were a whole bunch of Triumph TR8s in Lemons, by that I mean 3, and they issued a internet-wide call-out for the pit race event.
A fatwa, if you will.
Yeah, and they said, yeah, look, we're throwing down the gauntlet, baby. Triumph TR8 supremacy will be decided once and for all at pit race. They came in last at pit race. So they showed up at NJMP. They had fixed their car in between that race and this one.
Fixed.
And it immediately blew up. Now this time they didn't have a spare. I think they'd used them all back at pit, and they figured, well, we're done. But then they got word that former Lemons car, the Super Grover Rover P6, was for sale not too far from the track. And they figured all of our problems are solved.
Yeah, so they got into Rover, driving it along. After 2 laps, man, this thing's great. Why would we ever take the engine out? And then they realized they could not see because the windshield was totally shot and it was invisible.
I'm sure that was its only problem.
Yeah, that was the only problem. So they said, no, we're going to go back to the original plan. We are going to park this car. We're going to take the motor out. We're going to put it in their Triumph. That took them until about 2 hours after the checkered flag, and they were done.
The special award for this race went to the Mom Rocket, which, if you remember from last year's Thompson race, was the team that brought the first ever Lemons Ford Windstar. Now, at Thompson, they had all kinds of tech problems. They had tried to adapt a circle track cage from like a Monte Carlo.
Never works.
Turns out it never works, and it especially doesn't work when you're trying to bolt it into a Ford Windstar. They finally sorted all of that, and then as they're driving to get re-tech, the race has already started and the brakes failed, and they spent like the rest of the weekend wrenching in the mud. That was last year, so they had all winter to sort all of that out for this race at New Jersey. And sure enough, when they showed up, everything was running flawlessly, and it kept on running flawlessly right until 2 minutes before the green flag on Saturday. And they didn't really know what the specific problem was other than it will not start. And they wound up doing a carbon copy of last year's Thompson race where they're in the mud trying to fix this thing as the race is happening behind them, and their total number of laps was something around the neighborhood of absolutely none. So we gave them the special award, which was the All Winter in a Week award, which of course refers to that extra week that they probably needed to make this van work.
The Speedy Cop Memorial, parentheses, even though he's not dead, end parentheses award, went to Race Bar. They have this 7 Series BMW. It has the sketchiest wiring I have ever seen in my life. This car is ready to just burst into flame if you look at it crosswise. And they said, you know what? In addition to that, we're going to put all kinds of lights on it. We're going to put a kickin' sound system. And at the Saturday night pit party, we are going to be rocking it. And they did. So they drove that thing right into the middle of the Rally Baby Disco party, cranked up the tunes. They were the life of the party. It was awesome.
Judge's choice, deservingly so, went to the Roots of All Evil and the first ever Lemons Sunbeam Rapier. These dudes have been around Lemons for a while. They've run Ford Pintos in both Lemons races and Lemons rallies, and they found this Rapier, which was like somebody's hillbilly half-done project. It had no engine or transmission or floors, but it did have partial Nissan 300ZX suspension in it. And they figured, oh man, that's like almost all the way there. And so they got the car and they returned to what they knew, which is Ford Pintos. And they put a Ford Pinto subframe and drivetrain, made it into the Sunbeam Rapier body and partial Nissan 300ZX suspension. The car was freaking awesome, and they absolutely deservedly won the judge's choice.
The organizer's choice went once again to Speedy Cop. And in typical Speedy Cop fashion here, it's tech, no Speedy Cop. It's the end of tech, no Speedy Cop. So it was a little late, but when the thing finally showed up, let me put it this way. You know how AMC Pacers, they design the thing, and then as soon as you see it, you go, it kind of looks like a fishbowl.
Yeah, but it doesn't. Only the back does.
That is true, but that is what Speedy Cop set out to fix. He wanted to make the whole thing look like a fishbowl. So this is what he showed up with. And what it is it's an MR2 really, but then wrapped around it is the ass end of 2 AMC Pacers back to back.
Of course.
It is spectacular. The thing is gorgeous. And frankly, AMC probably should have done this originally. Would have looked better. You know, you do wonder what they were thinking back in the boardroom at AMC.
The index of effluency went to Cynical Racing and their Hudson Pacemaker. Now, this
So
car's
fantastic.
been around for a while, and
So fantastic.
it's so awesome. It is a Hudson that is a replica of, allegedly, Mario Andretti's first race car. It's done up with this sort of open-fendered look, and if you look at Google, it does kind of look like Mario Andretti's old race car.
It's hammered. Let's just be candid. It's totally hammered.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, this car has been here before, and the reason why it hasn't won any awards is because it's run for like 2 minutes before just totally packing it up.
Yeah.
This time, it ran like a train, and there was a whole long list of cars that just got destroyed by a big giant car that looks like a suppository.
And with that, here's Lemons in a nutshell.
Holy he just rolled it right over my foot. Holy Oh, I'm coming in, the car's completely beyond. Oh my god. Wait till you see this video. Holy he rolled it. He rolled it right over the hood. I was going right at him.
Just got out there.
Holy 666.
All right.
Oh, I'm all right. Holy. I'm driving in the corner. He comes right across. I see him come. Boom! His end. His front goes that way. Rolls and I'm headed right for his end. I jack it like this. He's still rolling behind me. I'm downshifting, flooring it through the grass. Holy. Huh? 666. He came right the over on me. Oh yeah. He rolled the thing. Holy No.
You're all dirty. You get dirt all over yourself.
Dirt was everywhere. Change the tire and go back out.
Numbers are hard. Numbers are hard.
That was terrible.